What we need to fix in the United States is our law enforcement issue and also our restructure our immigration process. Because number one, it's very inefficient. Number two, for example, the police in many situations, and this happened in Uvalde school shooting, you had law enforcement that was just waiting outside the school and they didn't engage. And unfortunately, you had border patrol agents that should be in charge more of the border issue rather than being the police. And so I feel like we first have to fix these gaps in order to prevent siding on one extreme. And I agree with Oscar with the fact that, like with Denmark and many European countries, they have been very supportive of the United States when it comes to wars in the Middle East. That's all.
Okay, Oscar.
Yeah, I get that there are like security concerns around the world and these kinds of things, but you're talking about your own civilian population that you're sending these people to, right? And so when you invoke, and especially him, where he uses this insurrection language, it reminds me of the time of the Spanish Civil War, where a part of the population was basically trained to go after a part of the population that was often identified as enemies of the state or political enemies. And I often hear this lumping as well of the liberals with the communists and the socialists by the rightists, very often done by more the right wing. I wouldn't even call them like American conservatives. This is more like a right wing kind of thing of like Christian nationalist kind of like idea. But this level of urgency that you're communicating, Jeffrey, I am worried that because of this level of urgency, that you might really bring in a tank to the city next time, or you might bring a machine gun or whatever, and more people will get shot for this kinds of reasons because of the level of urgency, right? Because we have so many enemies inside. Let's arm our civilians. Another question that I have is, what are you going to do once the enemy is eradicated? Are you going to still maintain those armed civilians? They're going to want to do something with those skills, right? So I just kind of wanted to highlight those worries that I see within America, and um, yeah, counterbalance a little bit more of this very like, this is what he has to do in order to do these things. And the language thing, I can leave that for next time.
Okay, let's just move now to the next person because there's a lot of people on the list. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so next on the list we have Gila. As a reminder, guys, it is about 40 minutes, a little less until the hour, and we're getting Armin out. We also have two questions for after the recording stops. So I have stopped taking new names on the list.
Thank you. And first of all, the main point I wanted to tell you is about putting, like after you air hard stuff, and I want you to air hard stuff, we air here even at noon. We show these pictures. You can show it too. But then after that, you put the pictures and videos of the children of the regime having fun. Just the hypocrisy, the switch. I think it will be a good way to show it.
Mm.
That's one
So
thing.
you're saying it's a good video to show the
After
during the
after the
video.
body, after the yes.
So show the
Then how
bodies
to
of the
show the
Iranians
food.
being killed by the Islamic Republic, and then switch to showing the children of the regime officials having fun and partying and having luxurious lives outside of Iran. Put these next to each other and make a video out of them. Yeah.
Yes, even now when I say
Yeah.
it, it makes my heart pound even faster.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
the dissonance is major impact.
That's a
Okay.
good. Yeah. That
And now
might.
we
That's
come
a
back to our
dissonance.
discussion. I need
Okay.
to
Thank
slow
you.
my heart. I
Oh.
wanted to share with you everything that I see. When I was a little girl, I used to go on a bus and I used to scan the bus to look for bombs. Okay, there is new terror everywhere. It's a different kind of terror. It has many tactics. He's using us and our ways to disguise himself, and he's infiltrating. When you discuss about borders, now it's inside your borders in many ways. The Somali Minnesota frauds, it could be the Intifada people on the streets. So we have to think about all of it. And Shana, in the beginning, you said about Qatar and America. you need to be scared that Qatar is buying people inside your government, inside your culture, and they're doing it. They don't buy the government with business, legitimate business. They buy people, right? That had influence in many directions. So it's a big thing. And I think this is why Trump is so good, because he understands everything is fast, right? Not sleepy. And when you talk to this kind of terror that is fast and moving and switching faces, you need to be fast, and you need to not work with diplomacy anymore. You remember Trump shaking own hands so strong it left a mark, right? Because diplomacy doesn't work in these cases. You need to squeeze his hands so hard that for a week he will think about this conversation. You need to force him. We don't have time for diplomacy and sleepy and more committees and stuff. So that's another thing. And the board, the peace of board, the board of peace. Peace, it's not the word, okay? They're saying board of peace, but it's actually the board of stability, okay? People are so scared of this fragile situation. So Trump is the only one that made people with deals, whatever he want, with shaking, he made them stood to some promise, even if it's not all the promises, because sometimes even if they want, they can, because they don't have the skills, the abilities, whatever. So people trust Trump that even people are so scared of him that they will listen, and we need this, because if the board of stability and peace will not last, this whole thing is going to collapse. But if it will last, even for a short time, this region can like build itself over. So yeah, that's
Okay, so Armin, Nail Bunny asked that you check your Telegram when you can. And next on the list, we have Richard.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir, we hear you.
Okay. So, not a question, not a point. Just wanted to say something to Armin. Occurred to me that you've been kind of running an emotional marathon the last 30 days, and just wanted to send words of support. I think I told you earlier I don't speak Persian, but I did find something in Persian that I thought might be applicable to all this. I wanted to say that to you if that's okay.
Yeah, no, of course.
All right. I apologize for mispronouncing any of this. Namdi basi omid ast, payani shabi siya septid ast. Payani shabi siya septid ast.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. That's very sweet.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
that.
everything. That's all I
Thank you.
wanted to say.
No, thank you for your support, Richard.
Richard, you are such a mensch. Okay, next we have Shy.
Thank you.
Surprise. Oh, my camera is bad, so I'll turn it off. Hila, I had the same experience when I was a kid here in Israel, getting on the bus, scanning the bus, seeing somebody that I don't like, getting off the bus, waiting for another bus, etc. That was, yeah, I remember the 90s. I wanted to make a few points, guys, here about political philosophy that was discussed earlier. Armin, thank you for that course. I watched like, I think 20 or 30 minutes of it in school here about political philosophy. I'm going to watch it to the end and then I'll be able to better chime into this. I've been talking about Trump and talking about political philosophy. I'm still putting together what's realistic and what's theory and what's real, because it seems like Trump is in the real world. So basically, when he started running, there was an article that came out by the Dilbert cartoonist who just passed away, Scott Adams, called Clown Genius. So everybody read that, because I think Oscar said, "Oh, you're saying Trump's a genius." And he wouldn't have won the presidency if he wasn't using all kinds of crazy tactics during the debates and in order to rally everybody to listen to him and gain attention. And I think today he is using these tactics to basically figure out ways to make things happen. And I believe, in my opinion, he's trying to get rid of the Ayatollahs. It's just not an easy thing to do. He's trying to figure out a way to make that regime fall. And so I hope that's the case, because he is so unpredictable. and it's hard sometimes to read him. But from what I see, yes, he is trying to do that strategically. And the other point, there's another group here in Israel and around the world called the Ayn Rand Center, and they're more on the political philosophy side. And they seem to be not really happy with Trump, but at the same time, there could be a debate made between your political theories that I see in the course and their kind of views. And that's sort of like discussion on the new emerging right, I would say, around the world. But it will be amazing to see if and like I hope when the Islamic Republic falls, we will have a new world where Iran is free, and that creates an entire new dynamic around the world where the quote unquote, not the right, but I would say the non-liberal free world is going to have its energy released. I'm looking forward to that. Everybody here, I guess, is looking forward to that. I want to say
Yep.
one last thing in that relation. In the past 5 years, I've had the opportunity to work with amazing colleagues who are from Iran. In one instance, I was hired by somebody who was an Iranian Canadian to work for them. In another instance, I had somebody work as a developer under me in a team who's
I
from Iran. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. And the just like the people in Iran seem to be, once they're free, it's going to be amazing. I think I've already made that point.
Yeah, thank you. All right, well, guys, let's go through the list a little bit faster if we can.
We've got Michael,
I'm
Cat
just gonna.
Lady, Oscar, Uncle, and Hassan. A gentle reminder that we are coming to a close now, and so we really got to keep with those 3 minutes. Thanks, everybody.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
So obviously, I think maybe we're not as smart as Trump is. I mean, I can't really say that. I can't judge off of that. But I feel like Trump uses a lot of language, like for example, with Greenland, annexing Greenland. Maybe he's using that just for the media to distract the American public while he does maybe a major operation in Iran. I mean, I could be wrong or I could be right. That's my theory. But at the same time, I feel like this guy has to moderate himself. When you make a promise to a certain group of people, that means you plan on executing something big. And I really feel bad for the Iranian people because they might think that Trump is betraying them. And they have all the right to think that way. If I were in their shoes, I'd feel hopeless at this point. Oh, yeah. And then another thing. Yeah, like, for example, I agreed with Oscar's talking points. Like, what's going to happen after Trump? Because here in the United States, like, I'm here in California and there's Governor Gavin Newsom. He's like a damn liberal, he's an extremist. So we have many of these dudes that are running for presidency in the next presidential election. As a matter of fact, we have the midterms coming up. And so, I'm definitely going to vote Republican because, I'm not Republican. I don't identify myself as Republican nor Democrat. I'm more of like independent. But at the same time, I don't want these people to get in office that are like liberal because Gavin Newsom has really restricted the gun rights here in the state of California. And if he gets in office, he'll just probably try and disarm the country. Thank you,
Can I
Armin.
just say something? I like
Yeah.
regarding all of this, and you guys could let me
Yeah.
know in the chat if you agree with me or not. I don't think like moral judgments on these people is. I think it's irrelevant. I've become
Mm.
so much of a consequentialist that if an asshole person is doing something that ends up being for some reason or another in our interest, I'll take it. And if a really good decent person is doing certain things that is against our interests, we have to take a position against that very good person. I don't give a shit anymore regarding, oh, this politician is good or bad. We have to focus on what we can do given the information that we have. Like, we have to look at our agency and where we could push for what we want, and based on the information that we have and based on what we could do as a collective, regardless of whether we like the person or we don't, right? It doesn't really matter, in my opinion. I think it's irrelevant. Who gives a shit? We don't need to come up with a blanket judgment on Trump or anyone else. I think each policy, each action should be like judged, whether or not it serves
That's
us or
understandable.
not. Based,
But I
yes,
feel like we should
separately.
talk about the
Like,
good, the bad, and the ugly. Sorry for my interruption,
no,
but
let me actually make my point. Let me finish my
Mhm.
point. So I think, for example, we could have a politician A have multiple positions here that is in our interest and multiple positions over there that is against our interests. I think it's a waste of time for me to come and say, do we like politician A? I understand that it doesn't work like that. If somebody wants to do something and you want to encourage them, you have to come out and say, oh my God, we love you, you're amazing. And we have to say that because that's how you get political capital to be able to encourage them to do something. So, but that's what you do when you're when you're doing activism. I understand that, but like internally within myself, like I don't care if I like the guy or like that. Like I'm not gonna. Who cares about whether this guy is a good guy or not, right? And also, a blanket judgment on his entire policies doesn't make any sense. The only thing, for example, I understand is that at this point he might do this, and he might not. And what can we like? Do we want him to do this, or do we not want him to do this? And so these are basically the metrics. Okay, he might do it, and he might not. Okay, so it's a variable. Do we want him to do it, or do we not want him to do it? That's question number 2. Question number 3: do we have an influence as a collective? Question number 4: if we do have an influence, how do we actually do influence it? Like, what is the things that we could do to influence it? These are the relevant questions. And I think the questions regarding, oh, he's good, he's bad, these are for entertainment purposes. This is treating the news as a source of entertainment. This is my team, that's your team. I hate you because you're on that team and you're on my team. So you hate him like I do. So you're on my team. So, oh my God, it's like watching sports. So for me, like cheering on a guy or hating on a guy in politics is basically the same thing as watching like soccer or football or basketball for entertainment. You're not really in it to be, to actively do something that changes people's well-being. News is a sort of source of entertainment for you. Like, as an activist, I don't treat news as a source of entertainment. As an activist, I treat news as a source for me to see where we could actually have some influence. So I don't come up with blanket statements over whether or not somebody is good or bad. I look at exactly specific areas and figure out what we could do to actually have some influence. Does that make sense, Michael? Michael?
I agree 100%. Sorry about that. I agree
Okay.
100%, but I feel like we should judge the good, the bad, and the ugly. So that way we don't
That's
repeat
the
those
name of a
mistakes
movie. I
again.
don't know what it. Yeah, okay. I'm not saying we don't judge. I'm just saying that I don't come up with a general blank. I think like if I'm judging based on consequences and the influence that we could have, rather than making a moral judgment on individuals. All right, so let's move
Okay, so
on.
Armin, spoken like a true non-American, I would say, first of all. Thank you. Because
Okay.
no, really, and I do hope everyone has taken that to heart because for most of us, it's very bipartisan here. Every single one of us that is American in this chat needed to hear that, period. So thank you very much. It's very appreciated. Next, we have
I think
Uncle. And
I think Adam said that he wanted to respond in the chat. Is that okay?
Hey guys, yeah, real quick. I hear what you're saying, Armin, about the consequentialism, and it's a topic that's, I guess, near and dear to me, having mulled this over the years. And there's this one called rule utilitarianism, and I think it's really relevant here
Yeah.
for the
I'm
religious.
a rule I'm a rule utilitarianist. But
I was like, it sounds like real utilitarianism. It's very relevant in this case to the religious codes of Islam, which, there's kind of an adjudication of, and like they're going to need, if Islam's going to survive morally, it's going to be like the Protestant Reformation to change the rules that they're following. And so we can say, well, look at the consequences of this rule set and judge a religion by the rule set, which means the judgment can mean like in some future world, we can have religions with edited rules. The problem, it seems to be, with Islam is the rule that it's the last book, so they're specifically against updating it. But if you can change the rule that you're not allowed to change the rules, then theoretically there can be religious reform. But ultimately, yeah, you can see the immorality of the rule set and how they're acting. I think it helps to know what various actors, what rules they're following. Just look at them like a robot. This robot's running this program, which is like a religion or an ideology, and this robot's running that program, which is like a religion or ideology. Anyway, that's my take on what you're saying.
okay, next we have Uncle.
Armin's muted.
You
No, I just was gonna say, Adam, I get your point, but also regarding reforming Islam, we should talk about that another day because I'm very much against the ability for Islam to reform. But I get you what you were saying. But go on, Uncle. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. So you guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
All right, I got the timer on going. I just want to comment that I personally believe that the copper is going to be a very important factor, and I think it's highly overlooked in this regard. The reason I'm saying this is because you have the arms industry, you have the electrification of the green energy, and then you have more increasingly importantly the AI centers, all of which require a tremendous amount of copper, where the physical supply is constrained. It takes years to undo. Now, why does this matter to us? Because Iran actually has one of the largest copper reserves in the world, meaning that this is one of the factors that probably makes interests of the United States gravitate towards Iran. Just to kind of give an example how much it is expected to rise the copper prices, Amazon has recently bought a dead mine because they expect the prices to rise so high that it's worth the risk. So with Iran having one of the largest copper reserves in the Sungun copper mine and several others, because the prices are likely to be increasing, what this means in the short term is that if the Islamic Republic is given a lifeline, this is going to probably have an oversized importance even with discounts compared to oil. If not, then this, of course, is going to be giving tailwinds to a liberated Iran. And I would say that the geopolitical interests of the United States from a security perspective, especially vis-a-vis China, makes this, as far as I'm concerned, a no-brainer, but I will get back to you guys. We will also see. But note that China is one of the countries that buy the most copper. Like I've looked over the biggest top copper producers in the world, elsewhere in the Western Hemisphere as well. And China tends to be number one buyer there across the board. So for like mentioned earlier, it's important for the United States to kind of get the Iran and Russia, for example, out of the sanction discount because that will undermine China. Well, the same will go over here. If the United States have more control of the copper, which the Chinese are dependent on, it gives them another avenue for coercion. So yeah, that's a lot of information, I understand, but I will take this for a broader conversation later. This also pertains to our personal savings because it does pertain to inflation, which has already been hit. But seeing that I've passed 2 minutes and I want to give time for others, I'll quit it here and thank you for the time.
Thank you,
Our
Uncle.
thanks,
Thank you.
Uncle. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Hassan, you're next. We have 15 minutes until the hard stop. So just a reminder, please keep to your 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity. Can you hear me fine? Hello?
Yes.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes.
So, Armin, I wanted to talk to you about, maybe we should. I basically wanted to talk to you about the extent to which Islam as a religion is not reformable. A lot of people who are non-adherents of this religion don't fully understand that reforming Islam is not even an option. People who know the religion inside out kind of know this. We try and see Islam from the lens of Christian Reformation, but I don't think that applies to the religion that is Islam. So maybe we can have a chat someday, or you can do a talk about this particular topic. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Islam. I mean, if Islam can be reformed, it would be reformed for the worse, not for the better. But basically, every time we have Islamic reform, it goes back closer to the original rather than the other way around. And also, I do have to mention that Islam can't be reformed, but Muslims can be reformed. Muslims, not Islam. Muslims can reform by being less influenced by Islam, right? So I don't believe in Islamic reform, but I do believe in Muslim reform because many Muslims basically live lives that are less influenced by Islam, and I consider that a positive form of reform. The Because Islam is
So,
basically, yeah,
can I something? Can I
Islam is,
say something here?
yeah.
Right,
Go on.
right. So you're talking about non-practicing Muslims, which is, very
No,
common in Iran. Sorry.
no, I'm not talking about just like I don't think it's binary, practicing Muslims or non-practicing Muslims. I think it's like a
Right.
spectrum, right? So I think the more you are influenced by Islam, the more dangerous you are, and the less like if somebody is like 90% influenced by Islam, that are ISIS. If somebody is like I think if you go from 90% to like 50%, that's progress. If you go from 50% to 2%, that's also progress. It's not like
One of the things that I noticed on October 7th, it became very clear that if you have more than 20% left in you, you were on the wrong side of October 7th. You were not able to make the moral choice about who was in
I
the wrong.
think this is measurable with numbers, right? I'm just
I'm just
giving
I'm
it the
just I'm
numbers.
just giving an estimate that if you have like non-practice Muslims who were you would consider to be good, I mean non-practicing Muslims or Muslims who were
Yeah.
praying
So
five
the
times a
way I
day were
categorize them,
were
the
on the
way I
wrong side of
categorize
October
them.
7th.
So yeah, the way I categorize them is that we have nominal Muslims and minimalist Muslims, right? So nominalist Muslims are Muslims who are Muslim only by name, but they live identical lives to Muslims. And minimalist Muslims are Muslims that the only thing Islamic about them is that they pray and they fast, and that's about it, right? Like they treat praying and fasting just like, and also they don't eat pork, but they still drink alcohol. So these are Muslims who basically treat like they're praying, like they brushing your teeth in the morning, but after that they don't really think, like Islam doesn't consume their mind, they don't think about Islam on the daily life, they just do the bare minimum. That's minimalist Muslim. And I think the vast majority, well, I don't know, I think there is a huge percentage of Muslims are nominalist and minimalist Muslims.
There are more than you would most people would think. And I would like to hear you talk more about this. This is a very interesting topic. Thank you very much. Thank you
Yeah.
for your time.
One more thing is, in the same way I separate reforming Islam from reforming Muslims, I also think that there's another thing called secularization. Okay.
Of
So
course.
reforming Islam, I'm against, but secularizing Islam, I'm for. Okay. Then the difference
Right.
between reforming and Islam and secularizing Islam is very important. So
But
reforming Islam, can I, yeah,
sure.
go on?
Sure. I don't know how you introduce secular concepts into Islamic doctrine. I just don't see compatibility. I
Well,
just
you don't even know what I mean by secularizing Islam.
Sure,
Because
sure,
I haven't
please.
explained it to you. You don't, because you say introducing secular concepts into Islam. That's not at all what I mean by secularization of Islam. That's actually
Right.
reforming Islam.
Sure.
Okay, so that's
Sure.
not what I mean. Let me actually explain. Reforming Islam is basically keeping the core beliefs and changing, pretending to reform some of the practices or secularizing it. So basically believing in the Quran and Muhammad and Allah is the core, but trying to make it feminist, LGBT friendly, democracy friendly, peace friendly, secularism friendly. That is reform. And the problem with that, this is why I think reforming Islam is actually very dangerous, because the core is the problem. And by changing the covering, you're making the core last longer. And what you're doing is that you're making the core, which is the source of all of these problems, to show its ugly face sometime in the future, even though it's sellable right now. This is why reforming Islam is extremely dangerous, because the core is still the same. The core is the Quran, and all of that, you're basically, it's a poison pill with a sugar coating. That's what reforming Islam is, right? Secularizing Islam is the opposite of reforming Islam. Secularization of Islam is removing the core, but keeping some of the ceremonies or the rituals, right? So think Christmas trees or Santa Claus, or basically not believing in Islam. You don't believe in the Quran, you don't believe in Muhammad, you don't believe in Allah, but you might have the getting together, some of the symbols, the architecture, the art, the mosque, the community. You might actually get around with, you participate in the community activity. You don't believe in it anymore, but you are keeping the identity card and the membership card, because a lot of people can't leave their religion, not because they believe in the stuff, but because they think if they give up their religion, they're giving up their identity card and their membership card. So by allowing them to remain, to keep the identity card and keep the membership card and continue being part of that community and continue doing the rituals, even if they don't believe in it. Imagine, for example, an atheist that still goes to church because that's part of their, it's their community, it's what we grew up with, right? Or an atheist that puts up a Christmas tree, right? So this is called secularization. So imagine if you could do to Ramadan what capitalism did to Christmas, right? So basically, guys, I know some Christians are here, don't get offended, less Jesus and more Santa Claus, right? So if you could do this with Islamic rituals and traditions and ceremonies by making people who don't actually believe in all that crap to continue to do the rituals. That is the secularization. So you hollow out, you basically take the core and you allow the covering to remain there. That's what I mean by secularization.
Okay. However, we only have 6 minutes left, and we were going to
Okay.
get to Dajjal as he came in a little late, but has had his hand up for quite some time.
Okay.
What's up, guys? As far as reforming Islam goes, I don't think there's any future in it. I think when you're talking about Islam, you have to look at it in terms of a business investment. And what is the better business investment? Trying to reform Islam or investing instead into the avalanche of apostasy and making sure that that continues steadily? And I think that's the better business investment to make, basically to invest into trying to get more and more people to apostatize from Islam and leave it all together, much like the Iranians have done. That's what I think. That's what I think you need to do, because if you just try to reform Islam, like all these idiots been doing, like Obama tried to do, like all your lefties tried to do, neocons, it ain't going to work. Yeah, you just need to invest in that. You need to see the whole Reformation thing as a bad investment, something that should be avoided at all costs, and anyone who actually calls for doing that. We need Greenland for strategic purposes. The Chinese want Greenland. If they get their way about it, they're going to put troops over there. The Danish aren't going to stop them from doing it because the Europeans don't stop anything these days. We need to secure that as quickly as possible. I think we're going to buy it. I think that's something that needs to be done. And that's it.
Okay, next, if we have 4 minutes. So, Danny, if you can do it in a minute, please.
Yes, so I wanted to address all the anti-ICE sentiments. What are you proposing actually, specifically? So, in my view, as of 2025, the majority of Americans want all illegal immigrants deported. This is the biggest mandate on which Trump got voted in on. And ICE is going mostly just for the illegal immigrants, which have also violated some other laws on top of that. And we have a state where the population is forcefully opposing the federal government, choosing to enact even a small part of the mandate, and the politicians of the state are actively encouraging this behavior, while the local police refuses to cooperate with the federal police. So, given that the federal government is acting well within the will of the people that voted them in just like a year ago, and you don't see Trump voters saying, "I voted for him, but I did not expect him to do this, and I was deceived when I voted for him." My opinion is that it's the federal government's duty to fully enforce its power over each of these three parties: the protesters, the politicians, and the police. And that illegal immigrants should be brought before the court and their fate decided there, just like the law says that it should be done.